Welcome to season 2. Welcome to the newly branded Nintendo PowerZone. We're retiring the SplatZones and we are now the Nintendo PowerZone. And guys, this is episode 0 for season 2. Why are we doing an episode 0? Because Nintendo dropped some cool ass information today. They unveiled the NX, which is now known as the Nintendo SwItch. So mark today on your calendars. It's October 20th, 2016, and this is the day that the Switch was revealed. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on breaking down this trailer. As always, I am your host, Nice1983.
And I'm your co-host, Mario Afterparty. And while Nintendo brought us the Nintendo Switch, we're switching it up on you as well with our new show, new name, same great content.
You already know. And if you don't know, well, now you know. So let's just go ahead and let's start with the trailer. Let's break the trailer down. Because the first thing that I noticed after going through the trailer, outside of an awesome new little console, is that this trailer wasn't reaching for the standard Nintendo demographic. Normally, if you go back and you look at a commercial for the Wii U, you saw families, mom, dad, brother, sister, and for some reason a stray dog every now and then. But this trailer was different, man. In this trailer, what we got to see was adults, mid to late 20s, early 30s adults. Not only that, but we also saw them really focus on the esports aspect of video games. And they did that in a very cool way. They basically unveiled Splatoon 2, and they showed a bunch of people in a freaking arena, a stadium, hyped up to watch other people play the new iteration of Splatoon. So it's very interesting. It's a new approach for Nintendo. They never really target like that a millennial audience. They always skewed lower. They always tried to reach a lower demographic, and if they got the older demographic, that was great. They never focused on it. I think the first time we saw a Nintendo product focus on the millennials is with Pokemon Go. Thoughts, man?
Yeah, it makes sense though, because this system is kind of unprecedented because it's a console handheld hybrid, and if you have like a console that you can just, pull out of the docking station, snap the controllers on the end, and bring it with you as you walk the dog, or, bring it with you, when you travel and you're on the plane, they're not going to market that to kids because parents are not going to buy their kids a $400 system and then be like, okay, Timmy, have fun when you take your Switch to the park with you. No, that's not going to happen because many years ago, I used to work with kids, and let me tell you, they can't even take care of their DSs. I have seen many horrific, unbelievable injuries and detachments to the DS in ways that you would not believe, even in ways that I've seen the screen like almost completely separated, and for some reason it's still working. So, I mean, that's like more props to Nintendo for making a pretty sturdy system. But I never ever broke any of my handhelds when I was a kid, and kids these days are just throwing these things around. So they're not going to market an expensive console handheld hybrid to children. That's why you're going to see all these adults in the video, because Nintendo, I think they're purposely targeting that demographic as well, because that's a demographic that is going to be very lucrative for them, especially, like you said, with Pokemon Go. But when it comes to a system like that is portable, that you can take around, I think that it's good to market that to adults because it lets you see that, look, this is a system that it is just as powerful as all of the current consoles in the market, but you can take it with you when you travel. You can take it with you, when you go to a friend's house. And I don't want to get into too much of it like right now because we're gonna go through it as we progress through the talking points. But man, I mean, the possibilities with that are endless.
The possibilities are endless. That's a phrase that we've been saying a lot lately when it comes to Nintendo product. Like, we said it about Pokemon Go. We're saying it about, their ability to market on mobile. And we're saying it about what the Switch is. But, let's not speculate. Okay, so the trailer was great. We saw a lot in the trailer. We saw games. Some really cool games. We saw what the console is capable of. So let's just go ahead and let's switch gears. Let's actually talk about the console itself. So this console is really interesting. The trailer, when it started, I actually thought the guy was playing on a gamepad. Instead, he was using, he was playing on like that Switch docking controller where it takes like the two mini controllers which have now been called like Joy-Con L and Joy-Con R. Those are the official names for them. So left and right, L and R. And there's that little dock that it makes it look like a square with the two little attachments on the side. So he was playing like that, and initially thought he was playing on a smaller gamepad. I didn't realize that he was playing on that cool controller. But that looks like the way you're going to be playing at home. I think that's a very interesting control scheme. They move the analog sticks, one on the top, one on the bottom. The D-pad is different, obviously, for when people are playing the controls with, the half a controller. And the console itself, the console and the dock, those are very interesting designs. But I think what everybody's going to be talking about on this console is the portable screen control scheme, which is phenomenal. It looks beautiful, and I'm really digging, the appearance of the console. I counted, there are 5 different control schemes, including that new Pro controller that I don't think they've named it yet, but we've seen it. We saw it in the trailer. So 5 control schemes, and 4 of them are out of the box. And I definitely think we got to talk about, for sure, the fact that this is an actual hybrid console, man. So what do you want to talk about first, man, in that list?
Well, the controller that the guy was using when it was hooked up to the TV is literally a square, which is interesting because you don't see controllers that are like that. I don't think there are any controllers out there on the market that are in the shape of a square. Most of them have the traditional controller shape where it's more oval, where you have the handles that come down. And then the other controller for when it's portable is a rectangular shape, which it's similar to the gamepad, but it's a lot sleeker, and it looks like it's also thinner as well. But yeah, so the controllers are definitely interesting. I'm glad that they advertised the Pro controller right away, so that if for some reason you don't like the options that come with the console right away, you can get that Pro controller, which is a more traditional controller.
The square controller, I really like that because it reminds me of the wireless controller for the GameCube, the Wavebird. Not as like ergonomically designed as it, but it just instantly set off. When I saw it the first time, I instantly thought Wavebird. Thought it was cool. I also like the fact that the detachable controllers can be used like a Wiimote and Nunchuck.
Yes, that blew my mind when it showed the guy on the airplane, and he just pulled the controllers out of the sides, and he was using them with the motion controls, and they were like obviously connected like Bluetooth to the Switch. And I was like, oh my God, you can still use them even if you pull them off the side of the little thing. And And then, like, when it showed the girl sharing the controller, she, like, gave half of it to her friend. I was like, no way. You can split them in half and have 2 controllers. That was awesome.
This is the perfect console for a road trip. Like, if there was ever a console designed for a road trip, this is the one I want. No, so like I said, like 5 separate control schemes. That's amazing, and 4 of them in the package. 4 of them right there available to you. Blew my freaking mind, dude. And I just loved. I love the way that the trailer like flowed and showed you all these different control options. Like whenever they wanted to show you a different control scheme, they did it by presenting a different scenario. So, you know, the dudes playing the NBA game, you know, 2-on-2. And that's another thing. Let's talk about that. Connectivity. 2 consoles, 4 dudes playing NBA. It looked like NBA 2K. 4 dudes playing with 2 separate consoles. I was like, wow, the connectivity. And they showed it again during that esports segment of the commercial with Splatoon. You know, everybody had their own, you know, Switch. And it showed 8 players playing the new Splatoon. And it was a breeze. They did it in a snap. They literally just set the game up and connected. And that is literally going to change the landscape for Nintendo when it comes to esports. Smash tournaments, Splatoon tournaments, Pokken tournaments, any kind of esport game that Nintendo develops from here on out, running that tournament scene will literally be a breeze.
Yeah, you read my mind, because when I saw that, I thought, "Oh my God!" It's like that near field connectivity that the DS has, to where, you know, as long as you got all your friends, you know, within about 50 feet of you, you can connect and, you know, play Mario Kart 7 together. And they're doing that with the Switch. So that means that when you go to like an esports tournament with Splatoon, you know, you don't have to really struggle to set up the LAN connection where, you know, everybody has to bring. Right now, the way it works is everyone has to bring in their Wii U. You know, that has to have a separate TV
and a LAN adapter, which they're getting harder to find.
Right, a LAN adapter, and that's not an easy setup. But with the Switch, it is easy, because the connectivity, it works in that near field connectivity that the DS and the 3DS have. And I was like, that is ingenious, and it is going to revolutionize esports for Nintendo.
Well, not just, go ahead.
Sorry, just with Smash too. Even though when you're playing a Smash tournament, you can play it on one system and just sit next to the other person. You don't have to do that anymore either. You can actually just play on yours, and they can play on theirs.
I was thinking one of the major flaws I think Splatoon had, period, was its local multiplayer. And I remember at one point I jokingly said I want a Splatoon on the 3DS just because that's going to be the only way we can get a local multiplayer. Well, Nintendo bitch slapped me twice for that. And they're like, you want local multiplayer? Well, this is how you're going to be able to do it. 2 systems, individual screens. Yes. The setup for that looks easy. I know it's a Nintendo thing. It'll probably be a little bit more difficult than we're actually making it out to be, but definitely got to be easier than multiple LAN setups. Like, just to, you know, when you remember last Christmas you came over, you had to bring over your own Wii U, and I had to break out a second TV so that we could play online, you know, side by side in the same room.
And we weren't playing LAN. We were playing
Wi-Fi.
So, yeah.
And trust me, my Wi-Fi service did not enjoy that setup one bit. Remember, there was at one point where we got kicked out for like an hour straight before it started working semi-fluidly.
Right, and this, I mean, you don't even need to be online anymore, which is great, because, you know, Splatoon is a game that cannot survive without the internet, but now it can, and because it makes it so easy to have LAN tournaments. And I mean, it blew my mind in the first place. When I saw that, I could not believe it was Splatoon 2. I'm like, no, it's just they're porting Splatoon over to the Switch. And then I started looking at it more, and I'm like, I don't recognize this stage, but it's probably just an enhanced version because, yeah, there's a new stage, big deal. And then like the trailer keeps going on, and they walk into that stadium, and all of a sudden the squids pop up, and they pop up in a line instead of in a diamond formation. I'm like, that's different. And then I look closer, and they have different accessories on. They have different headphones, different shoes, hairstyles, which you could never do before, which thank you, you pointed that out for me, and different weapons. I noticed that the shooters were different, and then because you're used to, you use rollers, so you knew that it was a different roller. I wasn't sure. And I was like, okay, it's different weapons, different clothes, different hairstyles, different stages. Oh my God, Splatoon 2.
Yeah, man, that was my freak out moment. So if you haven't seen the live reaction, guys, it's up on YouTube. Go ahead, check it out. It's pretty hilarious. I'm an excitable person. I get excited relatively easy. Like, that's just my nature. I'm excitable because I'm just hype. I love life, and I love to be hype. And doing my live reaction, I was actually pretty casual for once. I was taking it all in. And the moment they showed Splatoon, it didn't even matter if it was a sequel. It's just the moment that they showed Splatoon on the Switch, that was right there. Yes, I would buy Splatoon 1. I would buy a port of it for the Switch.
Are you surprised that they have developed it that fast? Because Splatoon didn't come out until 2015, right? Was it May that it came out?
May 2015, and it took them about 4 years to develop the first Splatoon, and they still really didn't release a complete game.
Right. So for them to have enough of Splatoon 2 complete to show gameplay footage in 2016, like, I'm surprised they developed it that fast. They must have started working on this game almost right away, I guess, because this looks like it could potentially be a launch title. I mean, I'm okay if it's not, because I want it to be, complete when it comes out. But if it's a launch title, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually going to be a launch title, but I am certain that it will be out within the first calendar year. It's a really quick turnaround if it is, but I mean, it's actually a longer turnaround than your traditional online shooter. Most online shooters, like Call of Duty and what is it, the Rainbow Six and all those other shooter games, they usually only have about a year development cycle because they build that core engine and then they build around it for the next iteration, or they'll have a second team come in for the next iteration, and so on and so forth. What they do is they basically just they rotate teams, and that team will develop one game, the next team will develop the other game, and so on and so forth. And it's a cycle. So they can keep pumping out those games annually. Splatoon didn't have an annual turnaround. It actually got a year off. I mean, yes, they kept developing for it during that first year.
I mean,
you could have done that with a smaller team. They could have had like a small team adding stuff and had the core team working on the next iteration.
That's true, but they basically developed an entire game's worth of content, or like another game's worth of content with what was released as DLC.
Exactly. Yeah, it's unlike the Mario Kart 8 situation where they developed an additional half game.
I mean, that's a good point, though. I didn't think about that. You're right. A lot of other third-person shooters have very fast turnaround times. I guess it's just because I'm a Nintendo fan who's used to waiting.
Well, not only that, we're not used to having shooter games on any Nintendo console. We really haven't had any since, like, the Super Nintendo. and we've never had an online shooter that was made by Nintendo for Nintendo fans. Well, since we're already on the topic of games, let's step off of Splatoon for a minute. Let's actually rewind. The trailer showed us the new format for the games, and I'm a little impressed, but at the same time not surprised, and at the same time, man, I can't believe a rumor came true. One that we didn't speculate. The NX uses cartridges. They clearly showed the NX using cartridges about the size of your standard 3DS DS cartridge. I'm very surprised by cartridges. I know that cartridge technology has gotten much better. They're basically akin to flash drives or memory cards. You know, like my phone currently has a 32 gigabyte flash memory card that I added aftermarket. You know, it came with 32 gigs. I added an additional 32 gigs. I imagine that Nintendo's running basically, you know, they basically just put a memory card inside of a cartridge, and they're just using that form factor to access the data on that memory card. But very cool to see Nintendo kind of bring things full circle, man. Like, we're old school gamers. I have a very strong fondness of cartridges, and I was glad that Nintendo's handheld devices never got rid of that and never tried to go completely digital either. I like cartridges, so I'm very, very ecstatic to see cartridges come back in such a significant way on what amounts to a home console.
I'm not surprised because I know it is a little bit strange, especially, you know, for those of us who are a little bit, you know, the older millennials, or, you know, the 80s babies. We grew up on cartridges. Cartridges were our first video game experiences. So when everything transitioned to CDs, I remember playing the PlayStation 1 and kind of realizing how much more you could do with a CD than a cartridge, because there was so much more memory and you could have such a bigger game. And that was still when Final Fantasy VII was on 4 discs. So, you know, for me to, when they went back to a cartridge system, I thought at first I was a little bit taken aback, but when I thought about it, you know, it didn't surprise me, because with your phone, the flash storage capabilities today, we're kind of coming full circle with technology. You know, cartridges at first had they were the most advanced, and that was the best way to do gaming. And then CDs came out, and now we're transitioning back to flash storage on a cartridge. And you can have, there are some of the Samsung phones that you can have a 256 gigabyte flash storage with just a little, you know, chip that you put in your phone, and so it doesn't really surprise me, because I think flash storage has surpassed CD and Blu-ray as far as the memory that it's capable to hold. Now, I'm not a techie, so if I'm wrong, please email us if you understand that better than I do, and you can explain it to me and correct me. But it's just, I think flash storage is getting to the point now where it's kind of becoming a lot more practical, especially since it's smaller now than CD.
Yeah, and you know, to go back to CD for a minute, I've read Console Wars 4 times, and it was amazing to see how integral CD-based technology was going to be at the time. If we can go back to 1992, all the major game companies were pushing to move to CD format. And then we had a brief switch, you know, in the new millennium with Blu-ray discs. And it looked like Blu-ray discs were going to be the new format. And then digital downloads became a thing. It's almost like Nintendo is bucking the trend of as far as this is the new way. Like we're consuming digital media all the time. We're buying music digitally, we're buying books digitally, TV shows, we're getting everything digital. And in some cases we're not even, downloading them, we're streaming them constantly. It's amazing to see Nintendo stick to a physical form as far as how they're going to deliver our games to us. I'm certain there will still be that digital download. It is still a very viable method, and it may truly be the future to get everything digital at some point. We're just not quite there yet. There's still people who hold out for physical media. Like I, for one, like displaying my games. So I definitely like to have that physical media. I don't usually buy digital unless I get a much better deal on the digital product. Like, I'm holding out, but like I said, I will consume the digital media if the price is right. If it's like a significant difference, like I just bought Captain Toad the other day. It's $30 for the physical copy. It was $20 for the digital copy. So I just I bit down and I got the digital copy because it made a lot more sense economically. But I would always prefer to have the physical medium in front of me. Let's move on. So we know the format. Let's talk about some of the games that were shown. Obviously, we knew Breath of the Wild was coming. It was definitely nice for Nintendo to start the trailer off and reconfirm that we are getting Breath of the Wild on the NX. It looked gorgeous. It also looked really gorgeous on the portable aspect of the console. It didn't look quite as good as it did on the TV, but it still looked damn good. So I guess that tablet part of the Switch will be it will be at least maybe capable of 720p for the output. So yeah, Breath of the Wild looking gorgeous.
The games, they look gorgeous on the Wii U gamepad, so I'm sure that they'll look even better on the pad for the Switch. But I still can't believe that we saw a new Mario Kart game, so Mario Kart 9, Splatoon 2, and a new Mario game.
I'm calling it Mario Switch right now.
Oh, okay, so we got Mario Switch. That's 3 games that, we hadn't heard anything about previously, and even if we get one of those as a launch title, I'm going to be happy because those are huge games. Those are games that you launch a system with.
Absolutely.
But I do want to point out 2 things. One, I didn't think and I know it's, they didn't really show much footage, but Mario Kart 9 didn't really look a lot better than the Mario Kart 8. It actually kind of looked not so great graphically, whereas the other 2 games they showed, Mario Switch and Splatoon 2, did look like there were some slight improvements there. So I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe it's just a little bit further behind in development. I don't know. But the second thing is, in Mario Switch, there is a scene where he is running around collecting rings, like Sonic rings. What's up with that?
I honestly couldn't tell you. It could have just been a design choice, I guess, for that particular stage. It is impressive to know that potentially they could launch the Switch with a Mario game. We haven't had a lot of Nintendo consoles actually launch with an actual Mario game in a while. We did get one on the Wii U, but it was New Super Mario Bros. Not the strongest Mario outing. It's a great game. I just recently beat that game. It is one of the best side-scrolling Mario games that they've made. But when you have new hardware and you're trying to showcase that new hardware, you usually want to do it with Mario or, Zelda.
Is that the one we beat?
It's the sequel to the one we beat.
Okay.
but you usually want to showcase that new hardware. You want to show what that hardware is capable of. New Super Mario Bros. Wii U does not really showcase what the hardware is capable of, but we did get to see Mario in HD for the first time, but I mean, it wasn't enough to know that we may potentially get a Mario game on the the Switch. That's incredible. As a launch title, that would be sick, and it makes me wonder what the catch is going to be in this game. So for the Wii, we had Galaxy. For the 3DS, we had 3D Land, and on the Wii U, we had 3D World. All brilliant games. I really want to see what level Nintendo brings Mario to for, the Nintendo Switch. A few other games we clearly saw an NBA game. I'm gonna just assume that was NBA 2K. I don't know. It was interesting though. It was interesting to see how people can hand off like the mini controllers from the side and play 2-player on that game. I thought that was definitely cool. But I think the big third-party game that they showed was Skyrim. That was a huge game back in 2011. Huge game for Bethesda. On top of that, it's crazy to know that Bethesda, I'm not a huge fan of their games, but, Skyrim, big game. It's huge to know that Bethesda will be making games for the NX. Not in the developer list. The developer list for the NX is outstanding, by the way. Let's just talk about the developers that are confirmed for the NX right off the bat. Or the Switch. I keep saying NX. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying Switch, guys. I apologize. But, obviously Bethesda, Activision, Square Enix, Ubisoft, Sega. It's a big list of, and it goes on. It goes on. That is the crazy part about it, is that it's a phenomenally big list. Any developers on that list, man, that are piquing your interest right now?
Yes. So there are some that are on there that, like Capcom or Sega that, they had games on the Wii U. They were there was some support, which it's good to have them back. But there are some developers on there that really surprised me, like Square Enix surprised me, because they have not been, with Nintendo for a long time. And the other one that surprised me a lot was, where is it? They had all but abandoned Nintendo too. Was EA Sports.
EA Sports.
Yes, they were to the point where they were publicly, kind of dissing Nintendo.
Oh yeah, they ghosted them so fast.
They were really throwing shade at them. And so to have them back on board is pretty surprising too. And then you have Activision, which they make the Skylanders games, right?
Yeah.
So that's good to have, because Skylanders will sell a lot on the Switch, and it's good to see companies like Konami and Atlas on there as well. So but you're right. There's just so many. It's great.
No, man, and I think the one that Telltale Games, they make the excellent Walking Dead game. But I think the one that's actually a little bit telling, and I think might have gone unnoticed by most people, is DNA. So last year, when Nintendo first talked about the NX, which we're now calling the Nintendo Switch, they announced that they had also acquired DNA, a mobile development studio, and that studio has brought us Miitomo, and it's also going to bring us Super Mario Run. I think right now what I'm going to assume from here, from seeing them as a developer on the Switch, is that we are most likely going to get Nintendo's mobile games on the Nintendo Switch, which that's a good strategy. It allows Nintendo to develop for mobile, and it allows them to not just have that mobile audience, but for that mobile audience to start a game on their phone, move it to the Switch. So it's an integration, but it's potentially integration of the mobile landscape and their console landscape with DNA developing for the Switch. That is awesome. If that is true, that is a very awesome thing that Nintendo has in their pocket that no other major video game company has to offer. It is exclusively Nintendo. So, man.
There are some concerns, though, that I want to bring up. As much as this trailer just hyped me up, I am concerned about the screen size. I haven't really, because we haven't seen a lot of the pad yet. When they split it into two-player mode and it's split screen, I don't know how big it is, but it looks like it's maybe the screen looks like it could be slightly bigger than the one on the gamepad. And I'm looking at the gamepad right now, and if that was split in half, it would be not so great to play on. So the screen size, especially when they're doing two-player mode, it might be an issue. And I have a feeling that they might even down the line come out with like a SwItch XL. But the other concern I had, which we were talking about earlier, is the battery life. Now, the battery life is going to make or break the success of this console because they are marketing it as a console handheld hybrid. So if the battery life is not good, you are not going to be able to fully enjoy the portable aspect of that. And in my opinion, I feel like it should be around 8 hours of battery life. That's what I would expect and I would be happy with. And I think to be successful, it can't be any less than 6. If you are getting less than 6 hours of battery life with the NX Switch when you go portable, it's going to hurt the system. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is interesting because I want to apply I don't want to apply the gamepad battery life to the Switch's tablet's battery life. The gamepad, while I love the gamepad on the Wii U, but it sucks when it comes to battery life. If you have your gamepad set up with low light, and it still only gets you max about 4 to 5 hours, and that's on a good day. I almost don't take my gamepad off the charger, and I never dock it. I always charge it from the top port because I'm constantly needing to charge it. Don't want to apply the gamepad battery's life to the Switch's battery life. But that being said, Nintendo's actual handheld devices have always had amazing battery life. Even the 3DS with the 3D Switch on gets you good battery life. So I'm hoping that the Switch follows suit, and because it would really hinder the Switch if the battery life can't sustain long play sessions.
Well, and let's compare it to the 3DS then. The 3DS battery life gets you between 3 to 5 hours, which is not a lot either. But if you're only playing DS games, you can get up to 8 hours with that. Now, the 3DS XL will get you anywhere from 3.5 to 6.5 hours. So that's a little bit more what I'm used to because since I bought the new 3DS, I'm used to getting about 6 hours with it of playtime. I don't really use the 3D on it very often, but I mean, for me, this is a big, a much bigger pad, and it's going to be running in HD. So I don't know how long they're going to be able to, get that battery life. But the 6 hours that I can get from my 3DS is optimal. I really enjoy it, and most of the time, I really don't have a lot of problems with it when I travel. So, like I said, if the Switch can get 6 hours, I think that's good. If it can get more, that's great. But I think it should be able to at least get 6. I mean, that said, I know the original 3DS only got 3 to 5 hours. So I guess if the Switch was the same, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But I still feel like it needs to definitely be getting more than 3 hours. I would think that would hurt the system if that was the minimum. Like you can get, I guess you should be able to at least pump out 6 hours in my opinion, but we will see.
And if you can't, man, they better have all different types of adapters for this. There better be one for the car, one for the house, man, a USB one. There has to be all different types of adapters to compensate for a poor battery life. So that being said, let's just keep our fingers crossed that, the Switch has good battery life.
And maybe I'm being too harsh because, like I said, I'm used to my new 3DS, and so I'm used to getting 6.5 hours with it. But with the old 3DS, I guess it was I was probably only getting 4 to 5 hours with that, and I don't really remember complaining too much about the battery life with that. I know I complained a little bit because moving from the DS to the 3DS, it was noticeable, but I really think that if they can get the battery life, at 6 to 8 hours, it would knock this thing out of the park, and people would, I mean, this thing would be selling out, next holiday season, and it's coming out in March, so it's going to be out for a while. It's going to be that hot if they can really take advantage of everything. And I was nervous before this trailer because I was like, man, Nintendo really has to, impress me here, because if they don't come out with something that's amazing, it's really going to hurt them, and you're going to get a lot of people saying that maybe they shouldn't be in the console market anymore. But I've said it on previous shows that every time Nintendo has misstepped, they've always exceeded expectations with the console that followed, and I think that's what's going to happen with the Switch.
I was worried for the trailer as well, but I wasn't worried for the same particular reasons that you were. I was worried more about the fact that the way they announced it, it was like a drive-by tweet. They rolled through the hood, did a little Twitter drive-by, and that was it. It wasn't like some mass, like, we called the press, we told them that we're going to unveil this now. No, they literally did a drive-by tweet, and that terrified me. I was like, oh my God, that's terrifying.
Drive-by tweet.
It was the most scary thing ever, because I was like, shit. They are not confident enough to issue a press release saying that they're going to unveil the NX tomorrow. They did a drive-by tweet. Sometimes social media is not the best delivery method for, announcing an announcement.
Well, and then they did it with the trailer. They didn't even do it with like a live direct. So I thought it was going to be a live direct until like 9 o'clock in the morning, my time, Central Time, which is when it came out. And then there was a trailer, and I was like, oh, it's a trailer? Okay. And but you can tell that they've learned from their missteps with the Wii U, because the Wii U was not marketed well at all. And they, it's like they, were almost like trying to like show off how well they're marketing this concept, because the concept is what was marketed so well in the trailer, not really the games, because we only got, 2 or 3 screenshots of each game. The concept is what they knocked out of the park with this one, and it was ingenious, and they got that message across to where everybody is going to be able to understand that. Even the parents who are going to buy this for their kids, who still probably think that the Wii U is just an enhanced version of the Wii, they're gonna get it too. They're gonna be like, okay, I know what this system is, I know what it can do, and I'm proud of Nintendo.
Actually, this actually brings up a point. We're gonna talk about this a little bit next week when we do the handheld episode, but I think it's fair to talk about it a little bit now. Nintendo is not the first company to try this handheld hybrid concept. Sega did it first with the Sega Nomad. The Sega Nomad was essentially a portable Genesis, but their marketing for it wasn't good. The battery life on that console was 3 hours on a great day. But it was a very cool concept. It could be connected to a TV, and it had a port for an extra controller, so it could be played 2 players. Here the difference is that you're right. The marketing for the Switch was very good, and Sega's Nomad marketing, it wasn't great. And at that point in time, the library of games that they showed for the Nomad was just a Genesis, a portable Genesis. So all it was the back catalog of games that you already had, or you could buy relatively easy. With the Switch, we're seeing new games. We definitely saw a new Mario Kart game, and if anybody says Mario Kart 8 one more time, I'm going to punch them in the face. Watch the trailer again. There are 2 items in the item slot. Mario Kart 8 only allows you 1 item slot. Look at the trailer. It's right there for you to see. Obviously, we saw maybe an enhanced version of Splatoon, or maybe even Splatoon with the 2.
Oh, it's Splatoon 2. I thought it was an enhanced version at first, but it's got to be Splatoon 2. There's too many differences.
Exactly. We're seeing new games being developed for this. Yes, the majority of the games we saw from Nintendo are sequels, but that's what Nintendo does best, is iterate on their own IP. That's what they do best. They make the best IP for their consoles. But guys, what we're going to do right now, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few more issues, like, was this the right time for them to unveil the Nintendo Switch? So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
And we're back. I'm your co-host, Mario Afterparty, along with Nice1983, and we're going to get right back into this discussion on the Nintendo Switch. And let's talk about the timing. What do you think about advertising this system during the holiday season, but not releasing it during the holiday season? Do you think that's a good idea?
Okay, so this is a very odd thing. So Nintendo has a console coming out this holiday season. They are releasing the NES Classic, and they're showing the Switch now. I don't think they want that. This is what happens. They unveil the Switch now, and it can potentially get lost in the holiday shuffle. Well, that's fine, because all they did was announce it. If it gets announced and it gets lost in the holiday shuffle, it's not so big a deal. But if they were to release the NX and the Switch, I'm sorry. If they were to release the NES Classic and the Switch, within the same, holiday season, they're not going to move the NES Classic. I mean, people's wallets, they come with limits, And in the holiday season, it's all about making sure that you stretch out every single dollar so that you make sure you get your loved ones the things that they want, or you get that really good deal for yourself on that TV or that piece of electronic equipment. And the NES Classic is already listed as a hot item for this holiday season. They do not want that system to get lost in the shuffle, because that system is going to make them a boatload of money. Do I think the timing was right to unveil the SwItch? No. I feel like the SwItch needed to be unveiled in August. If you didn't want to do it at E3, that's fine. But you want to use those summer months for people to sit there and think about it. We're talking about it so close to the holiday shopping season, and it not being a reality within that holiday season, it will get lost in the shuffle. We're talking about it now, and everybody's talking about it now. But, come November, December, pretty much the only people who are going to be talking about it are the people who cover Nintendo exclusively, like we do, or IGN, or Game Trailers, or anybody who is a hardcore video fan will be talking about this. But the casual audience will forget about the SwItch right up until the month of release. Talking about it now, it's not the right time. You do it. They should have done it at E3. In all honesty, they should have done it at E3. I know they didn't want to talk about it because whatever reason Nintendo had, I don't believe any of their reasons. I just want to say they should have done it at E3. That was the perfect stage, because E3 has the video game media, regular media, and the casual audience's attention. Everybody focuses on E3. Non-gamers focus on E3, because E3 determines what most people are going to be playing for the next 2 years. That's what the great thing about E3 is. You basically see essentially 2 years worth of video game lineups at every E3. And everybody pays attention. It's October. We're weeks away from the holiday shopping season. It's not the right time, especially if the console is not going to be on shelves during the holiday. That's just how I feel on the matter.
I agree. I didn't think about it competing with the NES Classic. That's a good point, because the NES Classic is going to be wildly popular. I think there's a lot of people that are going to get it. It's going to be one of the hottest toys this holiday season. But I think Nintendo's going to be okay with the SwItch. It's going to work out for them in the end. But this was not the best time to market it either, because I feel like if they had marketed it in January, after the holiday season is over, when there's no news about anything and the video game world is kind of dead in January, then everybody would listen. And if they said, look, and then we're going to release it in June, and that would be the hottest console of the summer. But releasing a console is kind of weird to release one in March. It's just a weird month, especially when you're thinking about like first quarter 2017. So like I said, I think it'll work out for them in the end, because this system is so innovative, and they've got such a good lineup going. Depending on how many of these titles will be launch titles, but yeah, it's definitely going to start to get buried by everything else that's going on in the video game world. You've got Microsoft and Sony coming out with their own virtual reality accessories, and you've also got Nintendo themselves, dropping Pokemon Sun and Moon, which is huge. I mean, that is going to dominate the month of November.
Well, and also, Sony and Microsoft also recently released new iterations of their consoles. You have the Xbox One S and you have the PlayStation Slim. New SKUs for the store that people are going to be flocking towards. So that's also something else that Nintendo has to take into account. PlayStation VR, and new iterations of current hardware from the competition.
Yeah. But I think that Sony and Microsoft are going to be glad that people aren't going to be talking about the Switch as much over the next 2 months because they're releasing like half a system for hundreds of dollars, especially if you're trying to get PlayStation VR. You got to invest in a lot of money just for the VR itself, and then if you want the PlayStation Slim, so that you can have the best hardware to run it on, you're gonna have to set yourself back. How much is it? Like,
I think it's currently retailing at $300 or $350.
So, and it's not for a new system. It's for like the PlayStation 4.5, and so they look kind of dumb right now, in my opinion, because they're not coming out with anything that's like truly, innovative as far as consoles. I know that virtual reality is innovative, and as far as their accessories, that market could potentially be huge for them. But right now, virtual reality still has a high price point to get into it, and so it may be a while before virtual reality takes off in the mainstream, just because a lot of people who are not sure about virtual reality will kind of balk at that price point. And Sony's actually got the cheapest price point to get into the VR market. So I think they're going to be happy, because what Nintendo has going for them with the Switch, even though the timing wasn't great, it just looks so much better than anything that is out there right now.
Yeah. That's also a valid point, man. Speaking to the timing of the Switch's reveal, apparently they wanted to unveil the Switch back in September. The rumor that's been going about is because, and this is just classic Nintendo, they delayed the unveiling of the Switch because the Mario Switch game that they are developing was not perfect.
Really?
I'm going to sigh exasperatedly one more time. Nintendo's constant quest for perfection has hindered them on multiple fronts. It's hindered them on Amiibo production, Pokemon Go Plus production, development of key franchises like Mario, Pikmin, Zelda. Their quest for perfection. We always applaud Nintendo for being an amazing game development studio. Like, they make the best possible software for their consoles. There is no such thing as a bad Mario game. There's no such thing as a bad Zelda game. There's no such thing as a bad Pokemon game. But their constant quest for perfection leads them to constantly delay titles that people look forward to. It has been 2 years since they announced Breath of the Wild. They have been finished with Breath of the Wild for about a year, and because they wanted to co-develop it in line for the Nintendo Switch, it suffered from yet again another delay. I am not surprised to hear that they delayed the unveiling of the Switch due to the Mario game not running perfectly on the Switch, you know, I guarantee when that game comes out, it's going to be phenomenal. But at the same time, if you don't show it, it's not. Thank you for showing Mario in this trailer. It's nice, but you haven't always released a Mario game at launch. So if you don't show a Mario game in a launch trailer, I'm okay with that because we knew that we were going to see Zelda. We knew that Zelda is a launch game. You don't have to show Mario if it's not quite where you want it to be. And again, this brings us back to the timing. We've both acknowledged that this wasn't the right time for them to unveil the Switch. It's going to get lost in the holiday shuffle. In 3 weeks, people won't be talking about the Switch. That is a fact. You delayed it for a month. September, while still not perfectly ideal, much better time to announce the Switch, in my opinion, because, yeah, it would still get lost, but we'd be talking about it from September to October, not from October to the end of October.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nintendo can kind of find a way around it through their games because they're going to release more information about their launch titles as we get closer to March. And I have a feeling that, you know, even in November or December, we're going to get more information about some of those titles. So that will kind of keep, you know, the Switch in the minds of the consumer. But you're right, it would have been better to talk about the Switch from August to October or September to October instead of October to October.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. Now, yes, if you're Nintendo, you always want to put your best foot forward. And Mario is your best foot forward always, all the time. But so is The Legend of Zelda. And let's not forget that earlier this year, the president of Nintendo, Kimishima, stated that Splatoon has the potential to be as big as Mario. Those words came from his mouth. Splatoon was a runaway success for them. They didn't expect it. It happened. That game blew up. You showed Splatoon. You showed an awesome little section for Splatoon. You closed the trailer on that Splatoon segment. Mario doesn't have to carry all the weight. He doesn't. Nintendo has so many great IP that Mario doesn't have to carry the weight. You know, you should want him to carry the majority of it, but he shouldn't have to carry all of it. It can be dispersed among the many other great IP that Nintendo has. This delay, because Mario Switch wasn't ready yet, it literally boggles my mind. As a Nintendo fan, I will call bullshit on Nintendo when I see bullshit. And honestly, dude, this, in my opinion, was bullshit. And it actually makes me a little mad.
Well, I think with as far as which game has the most pressure on it, it's definitely Breath of the Wild because it's been through so many delays and so much scrutiny. So, you know, Zelda Breath of the Wild is really the game that is carrying the launch of the Switch. And I don't think anybody was even expecting to have a Mario game for it. So it was one of those rare consoles where, you know, Zelda was doing all the heavy lifting for it. And a lot of times, you know, you're right, it is Mario. Usually all the weight is on Mario's shoulders, but you know, I know, I don't doubt that Breath of the Wild is going to be a great game. It may not get, you know, 10s across the board, but it's going to get good scores. And based off of the things I've read from people who actually had a chance to play the game, they've been saying great things about it. So, you know, I don't doubt that the games for Nintendo's launch are going to be good quality, but you're right. It doesn't really make sense that they needed to have Mario Switch perfect just so that they could show like 5 seconds of it in a launch trailer.
Yeah, like I said, I'm calling bullshit on it. I love Nintendo. I defend. I live, breathe, eat Nintendo, and I defend Nintendo so much against so much of the onslaught. I am at the front lines defending Nintendo all the time. And there are times where it's like, I'm defending you. Stop making me look bad. Like, that's what it feels like for this particular rumor. If this rumor is true, that the unveiling was delayed because the Mario title that you're working on didn't run perfectly, at that point you're literally making me look bad because I'm defending you, and you have this product that's basically ready to be shown. You showed 6 games. We would have been okay if you showed 5 games. That being said, it is what it is, I guess.
Speaking of games that weren't shown, what do you think about other major franchises like Pokemon or Smash Bros?
Yeah. So one of the rumors was that those 2 games would be available at launch. Okay, so we didn't see them in this trailer, but I find it foolish to think that anybody would truly think that Pokemon would be launching on the Switch. We have our Pokemon title for the next 3 years. I'm sorry, guys. The Pokemon Company and Game Freak, they make 2 new Pokemon games every 3 years. They are 2 pieces of the same puzzle, and it's coming out on the 3DS. That much is, we know that. It's coming out November 18th. We are less than a month away from Pokemon Sun and Moon, and that's the console that they're going to be on. They're going to be on the 3DS. It is going to be a while before we see them on the Switch, and that's okay. Look at the hype that is surrounding Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. Those games are huge. They are huge. The hype behind them is huge. These games are perfect where they are right now. We don't need Pokemon on the Switch just yet. Let's enjoy Pokemon Sun and Moon, and let's sit on them for a while. Let's sit on them for a while so that the Pokemon Company can really start to learn all the caveats and all the nooks and crannies of the Switch so that they can develop the best Pokemon experience, period. So I'm not surprised that we aren't seeing it on the Switch. Now, the Smash Brothers rumor, that's one that I kind of thought could be true. Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS were phenomenal games. From top to bottom, they are my favorite version of Smash. They are as perfect as a Smash game gets, in my opinion. The Wii U, we can say it. The Wii U has not been a successful console. It hasn't. It pangs me to say that, but it has not been a successful console. And to see the best iteration of Smash get buried on a failed console, it's kind of sad. It's really sad, actually. So if they had ported Smash for Wii U to the Switch, that wouldn't have surprised me at all, because the hype behind the Switch is real now. People have... I checked my Twitter feed this morning after the Switch was unveiled. Nothing but Switch on my Twitter feed. I checked Facebook. Facebook is nothing but Switch right now. They should have shown Smash for Switch. Even if it's just a port of the Wii U game, that's okay. I know that's not how Sakurai likes to operate. He's kind of like, this game's done, on to the next. That's because Sakurai... I mean, that's the whole reason that we have Smash Bros. Brawl, was because Satoru Iwata said that they were going to put Smash on the Wii when they unveiled the Wii. And he hadn't even... Sakurai had quit Nintendo. He wasn't even working for Nintendo when he made this announcement. And Iwata basically said, if you don't come back and make a new Smash game for the Wii, we're going to port Melee onto the Wii. And Sakurai took that as an offense. and came back and worked on Smash Bros. Brawl. That is the story of Brawl. We know that Sakurai doesn't like to have his games ported from one console to the next, but at this point, this is the best Smash game. This is the best Smash game. Don't let it get buried on the Wii U.
Therein lies the problem. It's the best Smash game. So right now, it's only been out for a year. So, well, when did it was released?
2014.
2014. Of when?
November 21st, 2014.
All right, sorry. I correct myself. It's been out for almost 2 years. The problem with it being so good is that where do you go now? Because each Smash game has basically been the same game, just with improved mechanics and the engine that runs the game. And this version, especially when you look at the roster,
oh yeah,
it's done such a good job of getting the best roster the series has ever had. It's got a lot of great stages. It's really taken the game and pushed it really far. So the next Smash game, you wouldn't want it to be like the same thing, because it would be better to just port this one over and then let this one sit for at least another year or two before you come out with a new version of it, because the next version of Smash, it needs to be revolutionary, because I think after 4 games, the series is going to get stale if, it remains the same, and it hasn't evolved that much over its lifetime. And you're going to see the same problem with Smash as you've seen with traditional fighting games, in that, fighting games were all the rage in the 90s. That's what everyone was playing, but they didn't evolve. And so all these franchises like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, like, almost all but died out. And they've had a resurgence as of late because the companies that make these games realized that they needed to evolve and they needed to make them more innovative. And I think you're going to start seeing that with Smash. It's getting to the point where, like, this is the best version, but if they come out with the same format, it's going to start to get stale now. So where do you go from here? So I'm perfectly happy with the port.
Yeah, and the thing about the port is it's safe, because people will upgrade to the Switch because it's new Nintendo hardware. It's new hardware, so people will upgrade. And hopefully the install base is larger, and that could save, Smash for Wii U. And it's going to be really hard to top Smash Wii U. Cloud is in Smash for Wii U. Like, that kind of says it all as to how big that they went for this last iteration of Smash Bros. It's
Ryu. I mean, Ryu is in Smash, and he's in Street Fighter V. Like, 2 of the biggest fighting games. Both of them were at EVO. That says a lot too. And you're right. I mean, Cloud, just because Cloud is Square Enix, and we all know that their relationship with Nintendo hasn't been the greatest over the last decade. But yeah, like, I'm happy with the port, and if they want to go ahead and maybe add a few new stages or like a little bit of bonus content, that's great. But this game really helps the Smash community, because it makes tournaments easier. It makes organizing those events easier, and the fact that they don't have to learn how to play a new game, it extends the lifespan of it as well, so that you don't have something like Melee where people are still playing Melee. How many years has it been since it was released?
2002.
So it's been almost 15 years, and and there are people who are still bringing their GameCubes and their non-high def TVs that can play that. lugging them around with them everywhere they go to these tournaments. I mean, it's not easy if you are a Melee fan and you're still trying to compete in the FGC, because you have to put in a little bit more work in lugging some of these archaic technologies around so that you can play your game. But with a port, everything gets upgraded. Everything is easy. It's the same game. Smash 4 will continue to grow, and it will. I think if they do port it over, you're going to see Smash 4 become vastly. The community for Smash 4 will become vastly larger than Melee. Right now, it seems like
it's almost 1-to-1.
Yeah, they're almost equal in the number of people that play both of the games. But if they port that, you're going to see the community for Smash 4 grow, and it's going to start to dwarf the Melee community. So I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, you brought up technology. Let's talk about some technology. So the NX is going to, or the Switch is going to be using a NVIDIA processor. They released a statement today talking about how they are proud to be a partner with Nintendo. A couple months ago, there was a rumor, though, that NVIDIA canceled the Shield 2 unit. For those unfamiliar, the NVIDIA Shield was it is what the NX is, what the Switch is. It is a portable console, a tablet that can be played on your TV. Very similar concept. It's verbatim the same concept. Well, not exactly. Let me rephrase it. The NVIDIA Shield was a portable console that can be played on the TV, whereas the Nintendo Switch is a home console that can be played as a portable device. Similar concept, but carrying two very different meanings. With the Shield, you're getting portable experiences and playing them on a TV. With the Switch, you're getting console experiences that you can take on the go. So similar concepts, different in practice. Well, the rumor was that they canceled development on the Shield 2 because they had teamed up with Nintendo to make the Switch. That rumor was confirmed a few hours after the Switch was unveiled. The NVIDIA Shield has an amazing processor. This thing was a little powerhouse. To know that their second iteration hardware has gone into making the Nintendo Switch, that's a good thing. They had amazing hardware before. They just didn't have what Nintendo has. They didn't have first-party IP to carry a system. And they didn't have the clout with third-party companies to get them to develop for their product. This is definitely a good thing because it keeps NVIDIA in the console market, and they have an excellent partner in Nintendo to go ahead and develop with. Very awesome. This is almost like what Nintendo and Sony were trying to do back in the day when, Sony was developing the PlayStation as an add-on to the Super NES. But this time, it worked out for Nintendo. Very happy to see that NVIDIA and Nintendo are going to be partners in this venture. I am hoping for amazing things with the Nintendo Switch, man.
I am too. Like I said, just the possibilities with that are vast, and it looks like it's going to be really fun. I wish I could get my hands on it right now. I'm jealous of all those people in the trailer who got to play it.
I know, right? So we have one more thing that we need to talk about. This is a big one. What does the future hold for the DS family? DS family includes the 3DS, the 2DS, and the new 3DS. What becomes of this line? So when the DS Fat was unveiled, Nintendo announced that it would be a separate branch of the same tree. Nintendo being the tree, the Game Boy Advance and the DS branches on this tree, that they were going to exist side by side. Now, we all know what really happened. The DS took off like a bat out of hell and became this monster of a handheld device that essentially killed its predecessor. The Game Boy Advance died. And if you look at the lifespan the Game Boy Advance had, it is short. The Game Boy Advance was unveiled in 2001. It was replaced holiday 2004. Did not have a long lifespan because the DS family took off. No statement has been issued as to whether or not this is going to be replacing or sitting on the same, they haven't said that this is a different branch on the same tree. What do you think this means for the DS family, man?
Well, I mean, when the first thing I thought was that, well, the Switch is going to kill the 3DS. It's going to, there's not going to be a reason to have a portable or a handheld console anymore when you have something that can be both. But the 3DS represents a different market, and just like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color were really hard to kill, I think that the 3DS family is going to kind of have the same resiliency, because the Switch and the games for the Switch are still going to be more expensive. So when you look at it from a price point, especially from like a durability standpoint, parents are going to want their kids to play something that is not quite as expensive in case they break it. And the games are cheaper for the 3DS, and you can get the 2DS as well if you really just want something for your kid that you want to have a lower price point on. And it's also, because they are smaller, they're going to be easier they're going to be more durable. And I think that the market for the handheld will still be there. It won't be as large anymore, but you're still going to see a lot of children playing it. That's why the Switch is marketed towards adults, because the Switch is like that handheld for the millennial generation.
You literally read my mind. Because I was going to bring that up. Look at the way they market the 3DS and look at the way they have marketed the Switch. Right off the bat, millennials, adults, in the trailer for the Switch. In any 3DS commercial, you are seeing either families or children.
And I can imagine, families going on road trips where, mommy and daddy are playing the Switch, but the kids, they still have their 2DSs or their 3DSs, because, like I said, the price point is what's going to keep those alive, because they're cheaper, they're more durable, so you can kind of trust them more with younger kids, and the games are cheaper too. So, from a price point, it's they're going to have two separate markets. You're going to have, like older, probably like 16 and up. That's probably who the Switch is really going to be marketed for, especially people in their 20s and 30s. And then, for the kids, you're still going to be able to market the 3DS or the DS family. So I don't think it's really going to kill that market. It's just going to kind of put it into a box and make it a little bit smaller.
I think what's going to be telling is basically two things that are the same. If Nintendo shifts its development focus from the 3DS over to the Switch, and they basically stop developing first-party games for the 3DS, that's going to kill the Switch. I'm sorry, that's what's going to kill the 3DS. And basically the same thing. If third-party developers who make games for the 3DS start placing all their eggs in the Switch basket, that's going to kill the 3DS. That's exactly what happened to the Game Boy Advance. It wasn't that Nintendo wanted the software to die. It's that when their new hardware came out, they needed software for it, so they started to shift all the development teams over to the DS versus keeping them on the Game Boy Advance. And the third-party developers followed suit. There were so many third-party games on the DS, that eventually no games were coming out for the Game Boy Advance. It happened much quicker than anybody anticipated, but it happened. And if it happens again, then that's what's really going to determine the lifespan of the 3DS family.
Well, I can tell you that Pokemon Sun and Moon will single-handedly keep the DS family alive at least for another year, probably 2 years, because those games are, I'm still going to be playing my 3DS when the NX comes out because of those games. Because I'm probably, from November to March, that's only 4 months. I'm probably still going to be playing Pokemon Sun and Moon. And I'm also going to be getting Mario Party Star Rush next month. So there are still going to be games for me to play on the 3DS. So you're, even if you didn't come out with a single game after 2016, Pokemon Sun and Moon by itself is going to keep that system alive. But so they don't have to come out with too many first-party titles to kind of keep it, running. As long as they release at least one major title for the 3DS every quarter, I think that the 3DS can still have it's still got a few years left in it.
It kind of really depends on how quickly the Pokemon Company switches over to the Switch, because basically whenever the Pokemon Company is ready to make, the switch to a new console, that's usually indicates the end of the lifespan of the previous console. So if a Pokemon game comes out for the Switch in a relatively quick fashion, let's say within a year of the Switch's launch, that could be the nail in the coffin on the 3DS family.
That's true. But you did say to me that you think that the enhanced version of Sun and Moon is going to come out on the NX.
I did think that.
So you are contradicting yourself a little bit by saying that we're not going to get a Pokemon game for the NX, and if you think that the enhanced version is coming out for the NX.
I don't really consider it so much of a contradiction as so much as I would prefer if the Pokemon Company waited longer, let Pokemon Sun and Moon, let them have time to gestate. Give yourself time to learn this new system like you do with every other system. I don't want a rushly developed Pokemon game on the Switch. If it happens, it happens. But I still stick to my point. I do think that Pokemon Twilight will be unveiled on the Switch at some point within a year or two. They will announce Pokemon Twilight on the Switch.
Yeah, if it really is called Pokemon Twilight, I'm gonna have to buy you a beer or something because you're genius.
All right, guys. Those are all the talking points we have for today. Let's go ahead and hit up our closing thoughts, and then we'll hit you up with these social media links. Today was a good day. We got a glimpse into what potentially could carry Nintendo for the next 3 to 4 years. It's a very interesting concept. I am intrigued by it more and more now that I've seen it. It's definitely nice that Nintendo can consolidate the two things that they've been keeping apart for so many years. For so long, Nintendo has been a company divided by supporting handhelds and standard consoles. They don't have to do that anymore. They can market one console. And it's going to be the first time they've been able to do that since 1989. So we definitely got some interesting times ahead when it comes with to Nintendo.
Definitely. But yeah, thank you for reminding me of those social media links, because guys, that Prestige video that I've been talking about is part one of how to build Prestige is finally up. It covers the basics. So if you don't know anything about Prestige, you can still understand it, but it also goes into the new system that was implemented with the new update, allowing you to bring 6 Pokemon to a friendly gym when you are building Prestige. So all you got to do is check out our YouTube channel and... Sorry, go ahead.
It's the channel is youtube.com/user/the-article, THARTICLE.
So all you got to do is check out our channel, and you will see that video. Hopefully, it to some of you who are still a little confused about the Prestige building system, hopefully it's informative enough to clear up some of those questions. I am going to be coming out with a part 2 with some more advanced techniques, but part 1 is out, so go ahead and check it out, guys.
On that note, to keep in line with the YouTube page, we also have my live reaction to the unveiling of the SwItch that came out this morning. We also have a brand new collecting video where I go ahead and break down this awesome 20-inch Fire Mario. On top of that, guys, we want to point out that tonight was our first live format for the new Nintendo PowerZone podcast. If you guys want to watch all of the commentary that we have on all of these topics that we discuss, the first place to watch them is here on YouTube live. When I edit the audio podcast, sometimes we cut out things for time constraints. If we do that from now on, what we're going to do is we're going to take those segments that we cut out and we're going to release them on YouTube as the PowerZone 1-Up bonus content. So if you're not able to catch us live, you can go ahead and you can find the content that we cut out here on YouTube. So like I said, it's youtube.com/user/the-article. Outside of that, you can hit us up on Twitter at Nice1983 and at Mario After Party. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/Nice1983 Game Collecting. Don't forget to check out the website, nice1983.wix.com/game collecting. If you are a fan of the former SplatZones podcast and now the Nintendo PowerZone podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and you can stream us on Stitcher Radio. And like I said, if you like the video versions, you can check us out live from this point forward. Mario After Party, man, you got anything left to say to these people?
Yeah, if you guys are a fan of the music, check out GameChops.com or YouTube/GameChops. Other than that, you already know, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, because now we're switching up the game. Deuces.